Welcome to yet another riveting, or at least I'd like to pretend so, episode of my Let's Play Dragon Quest IX Solo Speedrun Challenge. As you can see, I've picked up right where I left off, which has actually been on my cutting room floor for a good couple months. Between difficulties and other obligations, I haven't been focusing much, and this is the result. A very delayed video, but I have not forgotten about it. I actually dug it up once or twice over the interim and started to edit it, and my editor crashed. So I took that as a sign that I should probably give it a break and come back to it later. As you can tell though, I'm just progressing through story as quick as I can. I'm relaying to the White Knight what I found out about his home. And off we go, Brigadoon Ward Ho. We're on our way to chase the White Knight. He's rushing off just because the game insists that you have no NPCs that aren't a member of your party, and it kind of breaks the entire solo speedrun challenge. In most instances, you'd have 4 people in your party, so he would be the literal 5th wheel. This is the area northwest of Zir, and I was tempted to grind here a bit before taking on the White Knight, way back when, but after finding that most of the enemies here weren't worth the effort in terms of XP gain per HP lost, I instead focused on the enemies down by Zir, closer to the healer. And now to focus on the present, we see a desolated Brigadoon, and he of course reflects on it and runs off. You'll find that a lot when they're driving the story. And the first thing that I do is I run and get a important piece of gear. It's going to be a sizable upgrade compared to the slot, what I have in my head slot now. It is a feathered trailblazing bandana, I'm sorry. And it increases both my defense and magical mending. So, long run, it helps me decrease damage taken and increases my healing capabilities. I am going to pick up one piece of gear that isn't recommended, but it's not recommended against either, if only because just a little bit of extra defense and potential money later is going to come in handy. And I've actually been juking most of the monsters. Those ticks are the kind that will charge and get stuck on walls, which is what I was hoping to do. And there's actually a accelerated exit you can take if you manage to not have evac by now, which as a minstrel I don't think you have a chance of getting this far without it. Here's the piece of gear. It's just an additional point of defense. I believe it was the accessory slot. And now I run ever so quickly on to the next boss battle. There's going to be a small bit of conversation between the White Knight and the witch mentioned in Zir. That's right, as the knight's explaining in his brief exposition, he was a chivalrous knight who went out to slay her and became captured, much in the same way that's happening right now, and fell prey to her love spells. Morag is quite an interesting character, and I'll have a couple minutes to talk about that while we're going through a fight. But in tribute of a few of my sparring friends in high school, I must bring up the fact that in this game they prove that the mighty X-Block is indeed indomitable. It was just a long-running joke, and I of course must share it now, where crossing your arms defended against any attack. And as Morag goes on to say, I should not have been able to block that, and she quickly realizes that I at least have some Celestrian in me. And back again with Kronos' suggestion. DX Kramer is the boss bar that, oh my god, I hated for this fight. She has put a few simple moves. This is the most annoying of all. When her eyes speak with flash with unspeakable evil, that is, it has a chance of paralyzing you, revealing that she is a field controller, or just simply a controller. Her main purpose in combat is to stop the players from actually being able to do their moves, and in a multi-character party, it isn't that devastating. Unless they get the healer, or she gets the healer, and then the beefier characters die because of it. Now, the other problem is, since I'm alone, it means that if she paralyzes me and I can't get out of this status effect, I have gone from full hit points to dead and not been able to do anything about it. And that was very frustrating for several dry runs. Her other moves, this one in particular, HP Hoover, is actually the most annoying. Not for the fact that she gets 2 hit points, that's kind of meager. I think it gave her 1 extra turn throughout the entire combat, but since I'm doing this extra boss bar, every time her hit point total changes, it means that I've got to update the total and redo the math on the actual percentage. And I think this is the last boss I'm going to have trouble with doing that. Most of the other ones, it should all be slowly decreasing hit points, with the exception of 1 or 2. Her other moves are her Puff Puff face. This move has a chance of infatuating me. It just takes away a single turn. It's another case of controlling the battlefield. It can really screw you up if it blocks a heal, but less so since I'm doing a one-on-one match. Because it's one-on-one, she's using her turn to take away my turn. It's a net loss of 0. If anything, it can fail, and I can get a free swing at her, which did happen a couple times. The other things that she does is just a standard attack, I believe. I've covered... oh, crack. I've covered it all now. She does crack indeed. It's a standard ice spell, entry level, but it does do as much damage to me as I do to her, so I'm glad she isn't spamming it. Here you see me going for my coup de grace again. I didn't get to use it quite as much this combat as I wanted to. It didn't seem to trigger nearly as much, but it did come in help later on in the fight, where I was able to counterattack one of her hits. And she did start with 456 hit points. Right now we've got her just past halfway, I think. And I think this is the actual longest stretch of the battle. She seemed to do that paralyzing stare, and it stuck only once, which was so good for me, and I cannot begin to express how much I am happy for that, because I've gone through battles where she's chained it to the point where it stacks at least 1 time beyond the initial application, and with that, it's just ridiculous to try and break, and it did cost me a battle. This was another instance, though, where the finale of my dry run was actually much more dramatic and a closer call than this run. I didn't intend it, it's just I couldn't record my dry run, and this one, when I did record it, it just seemed to go my way. But, getting back to the aspect that Morag is a controller, I believe originally she may have been a human, and she's classified as a demon, so chances are she was either a human that gave up, I don't know, I don't think it'd be her soul, but gave up her humanity for demonic powers. She already had the witchcraft, which I believe is why the Right Knight was after her. But I could be wrong. This could have been an instance of a Right Knight, of a demon being unleashed on the world. It wouldn't be the first. It's just, I'm not sure most demonesses, particularly of the succubus bloodline, would fall for the knight in shining armor. Not unheard of, I guess, but still amusing. I guess the brighter the light of the soul being captured, it might be worth more to them. But she's dead, and I get a piece of gear. It's a pair of high heels, go figure. And it's been a fun run taking care of her. She's hopefully going to be the last boss that I have quite a bit of difficulty with for a long time. But now that she's been banished, we go into more story. And I apologize now, but the next video is going to be 100% story advancement with only random encounters thrown in. My main goal is simply to continue through and get to the next dungeon, which will happen once I record again. This storyline is, surprise, surprise, his princess isn't dead. And here we get to see a touching scene that it doesn't let me speed through, so it's just eating away at the clock. So I have to let you watch it. I don't mind. It's kind of cute and touching in a very necrophiliac sort of way. It's not quite all that bad, as they begin to explain. Here we've got his long-lost love sharing their first dance as husband and wife, and all of a sudden it's over, and the knight has realized that he can cross over. And if you recall from the very quick blurb during the initial scenes, the benevolence gathered from a soul put to rest at long last is the strongest and most brightly shining benevolence of all. Unfortunately, my character still can't see it. And here we confront the princess from the castle, and she's like, yeah, well, I was going to leave it all to you, but, well, I guess I kind of had the memories of his long-lost love and couldn't let it be unrequited. And with that, I make great haste to escape. And until next time, I hope you have a good day. See you in the next video, and after that, we'll be on to more exciting stuff.